Good morning. Thank you all for being here. I'm Bruce Barnes, the Ron and Donna Fielding Director of the George Eastman Museum, and it is my great privilege to introduce you to Ms. Jodie Foster.
Aren't you glad I didn't fall down those stairs? That would have been funny. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Hi.
We'll just go right into questions.
Yeah.
Mark. So just state your name and where you from.
Hi, Jodie. Marcia Greenwood from the Democrat and Chronicle.
Hey.
I wanted to ask you, how have things changed for women working in movies in Hollywood since you reached adulthood?
Oh, since I reached adulthood, yes. Well, it starts earlier, right? Because when I started at the age of 3, and I never really saw another woman when I was shooting. You know, sometimes I would see the lady who played my mom, and then there would be sometimes a makeup artist who was a woman, or maybe a script supervisor, but rarely. And I was in a sea of, fathers and brothers for my whole life growing up. In little towns across America, in parts of Missouri and whatever, it would be me and 175 guys. And then little by little things, I guess, not little by little. It really didn't happen that there were any female faces in the behind the scenes. And as time went on, I guess we had some female producers and female studio executives, and interestingly, that didn't change anything for women directors. That was the last piece of the puzzle. That was the part that was so difficult for the industry to evolve. And maybe, I don't think it was a conspiracy to kind of keep women down. It was more like implicit forgetting. I think they just forgot about us. And perhaps even saw women as a risk. I think that was the perception, the general perception, and probably true in the corporate world as well, where women leaders were seen as a risk. Not quite sure why, but apparently we were a risk. And really, it's only been it started from the independent world and television, a few more women directors, and then independent movies, and then eventually now we have mainstream, more women as directors in the mainstream. But Europe was able to make much more of a shift earlier on than we were. So now it's really only in the last 10 years, I think, that when you look down those lists, that you even see one female name.
Hi, Jodie.
Hi there.
My name is Natalie Kuchko. I'm a reporter with the CBS affiliate here in Rochester.
Hi.
My first question to you is, could you describe your transition from acting to filmmaking, but also were there any directors that you worked with, maybe early on or during that pathway, who inspired you to that point?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm all full of myself, but sometimes I kind of consider that I was a filmmaker as an actor as well, even though I didn't have ultimate control of what went on screen. But, the part of collaborating together with the director to develop the material, and I was lucky enough to be able to have that path right as soon as I was maybe 25 or something when I first started directing, and I won an Oscar, and I guess I was able to start affecting and shifting and participating in the filmmaking. So I did get to feel like I had an auteur sense in terms of the movies that I made as an actor, that I was able to tell my story through the director's story. Let's see. Oh, so the transition from being an actor to a director. I directed a short when I was 14, and then that's all I ever wanted to do was be a director, but I didn't think I could because I didn't know that was an available thing for women or for actors. And then I thought I had to write in order to direct, so I thought about that and worked on that. When I was 26, I found a piece of material, which was Little Man Tate, and was like, I love this so much, and I feel myself so much in this that I feel like I could direct this movie for the rest of my life. Because I think I was always scared of the commitment. Like, what would it be like to work on something for 3 years? So we developed that material, and through that process, I think the reason I was able to get that movie off the ground and set it up and do all of that was because I had won an Oscar, and I cast myself. So it was a financial proposition. It was like a, how do you say in The Godfather? Like I'm going to offer you something you can't refuse. Yeah, it was an offer they couldn't refuse, because I said, I'll work for scale as an actor in this movie that I'm going to direct. That was the leverage that I brought to the party, and at that time, there weren't a lot of women directors, so that was how you made it happen. And I think once I was on the other side of the camera, it was just another case of loving making movies even more than I did before. And I think that I bring that to the table, hopefully, to directors, that they have a partner in me that knows why something cuts together and why this is more effective, and has a good sense of the big picture and not just my part in it. And yeah.
I'm Tina McIntyre from the Democrat and Chronicle.
Oh, hi. You guys are together, right? Were you the Democrat Chronicle as well?
Yeah, we're together.
Yeah, there you go.
Photographers can ask questions.
Okay.
So your career started out as a child, then you went to college, and then you came back, and that is such a rare career path. And as a woman too, you didn't get fluffy roles, you got meaty substance. And it seems like Hollywood doesn't respect women the way like British TV does. How did you manage that? How did you make yourself get those roles and keep in the eye instead of being like, oh, that was a long time ago?
Yeah, it's a long career. And some of it is chance. Some of it is just being open to saying, well, I'll do anything. I mean, gosh, I did every television series in the 70s, bad television series in the 70s you can think of. If you name one, from Nanny and the Professor to Adam 12 to Dragnet to, Bonanza, whatever, I've done them all, to then being able to pick a little bit which direction I wanted to go in. And some of that is conscious and some of that is unconscious. When you're given choices and you choose one, and I'm not sure that in your 20s you're really aware why you chose that one, that the patterns become clearer over time. And it was clear to me that I didn't know that I would be an actor when I grew up. I didn't think I would be an actor when I grew up. I thought it was a thing I was going to do as a child, and then I was going to transition into something else. And but I kept choosing the thing that felt right to me, that I could live with, and there were certain things I couldn't live with. So I wasn't really interested in playing the girlfriend or the wife of the character that had all the stuff to do. And I kind of avoided those parts. I wasn't that interested in, for example, the Brat Pack years. I didn't really just want to be like one of the cool kids who, in those movies. And at the time, I think people were like, wow, is that a wise idea? I don't think that's a very good idea. But those were my choices that I made. I really wanted complicated, complex characters that that were ambivalent and that seemed like one thing on the outside and that were something else. And sometimes I had to build that from within, meaning it wasn't on the page. And if you were looking for a complex character as a woman in the early 80s, you kind of had to work with them and make it happen because it wasn't going to be on the page. So in some ways, your career kind of, whether you realize it or not, it's when you look back and you realize that your career sort of points to who you were and who you were becoming, if you have the opportunity to make choices, I guess.
Hey, Joey. Jeff from WXXI and City Magazine here.
Hi.
Hi. You've played a lot of...
We spoke on the phone.
Yes,
Did we?
2 days ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Thanks
recognize your voice.
for your dog's
cameo. I didn't think
cameo.
that was what you were going to look like.
What were you expecting? And your dog was a
Ziggy.
very nice cameo there. You've portrayed a lot of women in perilous situations. How do you make sure that they're just not seen as victims of their circumstances?
That's a really good question. Part of our history as women is that we weren't allowed to be doctors and lawyers, right? We weren't allowed to be president. So victimhood is to erase that from our history would be pretending we were somebody we weren't, you know? If we just decided we're only going to play Marvel heroes, like we would be erasing so much of what makes us us. So yeah, it was important for me in a way to go to those characters and look at them and sometimes to allow them to evolve differently. And maybe that was a psychological thing for me, whereas, you know, I wanted to play those ladies so I could have them survive intact, because a lot of people don't survive intact. And look, when I was young, I'd love to tell you when I was 6 or 7 years old that I was making those decisions for myself, but I wasn't. Those are the movies my mom wanted to see. And she would say, oh, this is a part for you, you know, when I was 6 or 7 or 8, 12, doing Taxi Driver, or, you know, 10 years old doing Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. And interestingly, those were her stories that she wanted to see on screen, which is women surviving the things that she survived or that she didn't survive, whether that was, you know, bad divorces or, you know, being a Catholic girl whose parents were divorced, or, you know, there's so many things, so much baggage that she had that I was working out for her in a way. Which sounds bad, doesn't it? That sounds weird, but I think it was a great foundation, actually, to look back on the history of women and on the idea of what a victim means. And in The Accused, for example, a victim meant being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And you know, that movie's a perfect opportunity to look back on our perceptions or our, you know, a priori ideas of what victims are, and to revisit that.
I wanted to ask you, what was it about the Clarice Starling character that really you most strongly related to?
Wow. I heard that there was a banner that said Clarice is coming. I heard, right? That was on the tower. That made me so happy. I hope somebody took a picture, because I would really like to see that. Once again, some of it's conscious and some of it's unconscious. So consciously, as I presented to Jonathan Demme when I was trying to say, this is why I should be, you know, I had a whole intellectual idea. This whole, you know, I went to college, intellectual idea about the hero myth, and Clarice sort of representing the prince who goes to save the town and has to go into the forest of darkness and meet the ogre and meet the bad monster, and has to learn her shameful secrets in order to unlock the panacea to go back and cure her people. Right? That's the sort of, you know, traditional narrative that we know about the hero. It's just women have just never been allowed to participate in that hero myth. So that was my big idea for doing it. But the truth is there were so many things that I didn't realize until after I made the movie that were so important to me, that I was drawn to, and the reasons why I fought for the role, I think, that were about this idea of being small and being fragile and being perceptive and empathic. And those are all of the things, and in society we look to as weaknesses. And that for Clarice is the reason why she's the hero in the movie, is that that's why she catches the killer. That's why she finds him, because she has those superpowers, because she's small and she's fragile, and she understands the women that are the victims, and that her unique fate, you know, looking in terms of Greek tragedy, you know, her unique fate is that she understands what it is to be weak and understands what it is to be fragile, and that's why she has the ammunition that she needs to find the killer.
Off of Marcia's question there, I had a question about a role for Taxi Driver, right? You were almost a teenager when you worked on that project. Candidly, what was it like at that age working alongside Robert De Niro, Martin Scorsese?
Yeah, wow, what an amazing time. I feel so grateful that I was around in the 70s and that I get to have on my tombstone, like, oh, I made movies in the 70s. Because it really is the golden age of American cinema. I'm sure all the film nerds around this place have other ideas about what the golden age was, but for me it really was the 70s and the kind of anti-hero movement and auteur filmmaking, American style. So Robert De Niro was weird. I was 12 and he was really silent and very much into his character. He was Travis Bickle, during that time frame. And I did a lot. He didn't talk very much and he was really awkward, and he kept picking me up from my hotel and taking me to different coffee shops, and we would run the lines over and over and over again. I thought, this is so dumb. I can't believe I'm having to do this, especially since I had made more movies than, De Niro or Scorsese at that time. But then I understood that when he threw improvisation at me, then I understood, like, being an actor isn't just learning lines and saying them and being as natural as possible, which I had been told. That actually it required more thought and more depth, and that I, as a 12-year-old, had not given enough of myself to the process. So I was like, oh, maybe acting is not such a dumb job. So it was a big revelation for me working with De Niro. I hadn't really understood what acting was until then. And working with Scorsese, which I guess you guys have probably all met him, he talks a million miles a minute and he's super excited about everything, and he was always, laughing like a cartoon character. I just completely fell in love with him as a director and was like, that's how I want to be when I'm a director. So it was a big moment for me, and I think a moment where I thought maybe I do want to be an actor when I grow up.
All right, I have a question. Nate Smith,
Sure,
George Eastman
hi.
Museum. Hi. Just completely off-the-cuff question. First impressions of the museum. I know you've been here for a short period of time, but what were your first impressions?
Oh, it's like, it's like Disneyland for film nerds. It's so fun for me to look back on the history of cinema and technology, really. For somebody who really loves technology and really appreciates all the little details that go into filmmaking. Some actors aren't interested. Some actors are like, I just want to act. That was never me. I think because I started out as a young person who probably never would have been an actor otherwise, I was always interested in learning how does focus work, and how do we load film, and why do we use a clapper, and all that stuff. Growing up, that is the magic of using technical devices in order to make something that's just love and soul, and to erase all the seams about how you made that. So that's been really fun for me here. And Rochester, which, by the way, I don't know how you guys organized this for me, but it's really beautiful. It's so green. It's so beautiful, and all these beautiful homes. It's kind of like the America that you want people to say, oh, this is what America's like. It's great.
You got time for one more.
Good morning. I'm Ann Sokolowski from 106.3 Rochester Free Radio.
Hi there.
Hi. What do you think you would have been doing if you had not gotten into the entertainment biz?
Wow, that's a really good question.
It's a big world.
Yes, my mom was very busy when I was young saying, what are you going to do when you grow up? Are you going to be a doctor, a lawyer? Like, she never said the word actor. I don't think she certainly never, she wanted to make sure that I didn't have the delusion that I would ever be able to be an actor when I grew up, because most child actors disappear, and that's that. But she wanted me to, live her dream and be a professional or be respected or something. When I was little, I said what I really wanted to do was be a professional talker. And she said, oh, that sounds like speechwriter. maybe you'll be a speechwriter. Maybe you'll be president. There was a lot of wanting me to be president or wanting me to have a title. But as I grew older, I think the thing that I really love doing is teaching younger people. I wish somehow I could have found a way where I feel like teaching was the thing I was kind of meant to do that I didn't end up doing. And every once in a while I get to, have discussions with young filmmakers or be on a crew with young people, and I get so much from them, from their enthusiasm and from the boundlessness of their ideas that aren't formed by all of my rules that I come to the table with. So yeah, I think that's what I probably would have ended up doing.
I want to thank everybody for attending,
Oh,
for coming in.
cool.
Before we go, just for historical sake, we would love if you would sign.
Sure.
this portrait.
Sure. Oh yeah. That's exciting. Okay. I'll put it in the dark, right? Because this is a light pen. Oh yeah, Robert. Awesome. Okay. Oh, me and my face. Yes. Is this you and me, or just me? You. Okay. Oh, come on, you guys don't want a picture of me and my face, do you? Would it be better if it was somebody else's face? Or like Anthony Hopkins or something. Did you guys all see Silence last night? Yeah. It's fun seeing it on a big screen, isn't it? I took my boys to see it. It was probably 10 years ago, and they hadn't seen the movie, of course, because it was scary. And I guess I didn't think anything of it. I took them to this cool old movie theater from the 20s, and they projected a 35 millimeter print, and I thought, oh, they're just this. And they were scared. It didn't occur to me that they would be scared. Especially now with all the scary movies, I was really surprised that it got to them. No. Sadly, they didn't worry about me. They should have been worried about me. Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Thank you so much.